All right, it's been a couple of hours since California Senator Kamala Harris gave her, I guess, supposed kickoff campaign speech, even though she announced a couple of days ago. Its level of importance is being measured currently. Before starting the stream, I had not seen it in its entirety, so I watched a little bit of the beginning of it, and I saw the tail end of it when it was live, and we'll go from there. I've learned a couple of things about her that have kind of disgusted me in the last couple of days. But we'll, hear the speech. I'll react to it. I'll pause it when there's something weird or strange going on. Then we'll just, or something that I object to that is said. So to give you further context, this is right after she comes out and she says, "Hey, Oakland," and I only skip that part because they have music playing and I don't want to get uh, flagged for for copyrighted material. All right, let's go. This thing loads.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, my heart is full right now. Thank you, everyone. Let me start. I want to thank Libby Shafts, the great mayor of the city of Oakland. Come here for Libby. That incredible introduction and our long-standing friendship. You know, our mothers were friends together also here in Oakland, and I can't thank you, Libby, enough for your leadership and your friendship. So here we are. Here we are.
It takes so long to start speaking.
I am so proud to be a daughter of Oakland, California. And as most of you know, I was born just up the road at Kaiser Hospital. And it was just a few miles away that my parents first met as graduate students at UC Berkeley, where they were active in the civil rights movement. And they were born half a world apart from each other. My father, Donald, came from Jamaica to study economics. My mother, Shamala, came from India to study the science of fighting disease. They came here in pursuit of more than just knowledge. Like so many others, they came in pursuit of a dream. And that dream was a dream for themselves, for me, and for my sister Maya. As children growing up here in the East Bay, we were raised by a community with a deep...
We're getting close to when I will pause it.
...in the promise of our country, and a deep understanding of the parts of that promise that still remain unfulfilled. We were raised in a community where we were taught to see a world beyond just ourselves, to be conscious and compassionate about the struggles of all people. We were raised to believe.
All right, that's enough of that. Well, before I resume it, so my first input is that this is literally over 2 minutes of her speaking without mentioning a single way in which she would vary in policy from Trump, much less any of the Democrats that are in the primary already. And I think one of the biggest issues with these candidates is that they have this idea where if they open up more about their past and their ancestry and all this stuff that has nothing to do with contemporary issues afflicting regular people, they're suddenly going to make you fall in love with them, and their personal story will interest you so much So that's already a big red flag. Let's continue.
Public service is a noble cause, and the fight for justice
Flowery rhetoric.
is everyone's responsibility. In fact, my mother used to say, don't sit around and complain about things, do something. And basically, I think she was basically saying, you got to get up and stand up and don't give up the fight. And it is this deep-rooted belief that inspired me to become a lawyer and a prosecutor. It was just a couple of blocks from this very spot, nearly 30 years ago, as a young district attorney, I walked into the courtroom for the first time and said the 5 words that would guide my life's work. Kamala Harris for the people.
So again, we are now 3-4 minutes into the speech. Still no policy substance. You know, it's like they have these advisors who tell them try to get more and more and more and more and more about yourself out there, and then all of these people in the background just eat it up. I don't get it. Well, it could be rooted in Trump derangement syndrome. So it could be that she herself is not that appealing because she's not actually letting you know what she stands for. But they just have Trump derangement syndrome, or they despise him so much that they'll go for anybody.
Now I knew our criminal justice system was deeply flawed, but I also knew the profound impact law enforcement has on people's lives and its responsibility to give them safety and dignity. I knew.
Okay, so now we're finally, she's talking about protecting people, and I want to tell you that's all flowery nonsense. This is the same person who opposed body cameras on officers when it's been shown statistically that whenever they have their actions being recorded, they're less likely to do something that is or could be considered corrupt, against the law. So when she says, I'm protecting the people, and then you also at that time opposed putting body cameras on officers to let us see what they're doing, two things don't go together. There's actually a story, and I want to talk more about it in a subsequent stream or another day because I want to make sure I have the person's name. But you can see this on Secular Talk and the Rational Nationals channel, where there was a man who was convicted by a woman, or whether was accused by a woman of being a rapist. And her own mother came forward and said, oh, she's insane, or she's a pathological liar. And they also cleared him via DNA. And Harris wanted to keep him in there, keep him in prison for 70 years for a crime he didn't commit because he didn't file some paperwork in. So, yeah, protect. I don't know what people see for talking about protecting the regular person. Certainly not.
And I knew that the people in our society who are most often targeted by predators are also most often the voiceless and vulnerable. I believed and on that point, I believed, and on that point, I believed then as I do now, no one should be left to fight alone.
This is still more flowery rhetoric that doesn't actually mean anything. No one should be left to fight. What does that mean? Are you going to now install additional people? Like, we're still not being told anything specific, and the audience is continuing to eat it up. So she's getting what she wanted.
Because you see, in our system of justice, we believe that a harm against any one of us is a harm against all of us. That is why when a case is filed, it doesn't read the name of the victim, it reads the people. And this is a point I have often explained to console and counsel survivors of crime, people who faced great harm, often at the hands of someone they trust, be it
like a bank. What was it? One West Bank, when it was run by Steve Mnuchin, and he foreclosed on people illegally because he would tell you you have this deadline, or One West Bank would tell you have this deadline, and then they would come after you before you hit the deadline. And then Harris refused to prosecute him, saying that her office had declined to rule or something to that effect, even though it's been revealed that he donated to her Senate campaign and his wife donated to when she ran for Attorney General. He's trying to curry favor with the Attorney General. So those are the people she'll protect you from, the banks that you trusted and that she let prosecute you. Okay.
Relative or a bank or a big corporation.
Oh, she said bank.
I would remind them, you are not invisible.
You are if you give her money.
Stand together. Because that is the power of the people. In my whole life, I've only had one client, the people.
And Steve Mnuchin and every other donor that gives you dollars. Those are your clients. Them and the people, I guess. Well, them 99%, the people 1%.
Fighting on behalf of survivors of sexual assault. A fight not just against predators, but a fight against silence and stigma.
Yeah, you saw her fighting on behalf for Steve Mnuchin. Let's just put it like that.
We created an initiative to give skills and job training instead of jail time for young people arrested for drugs.
You know what? That's another line that people are clapping at that is completely off. Again, she says, we're trying to help people and prevent them from getting arrested for drugs. This is the same person who opposed legalizing marijuana until a few months ago, even after you had Republicans like Dana Rohrabacher back it for years ahead of that, who laughed at her Republican challenger in her second Attorney General race for being in favor of legalizing marijuana. He was more liberal on that than she was. So this idea that she was trying to help end the war on drugs, the drug war, is ridiculous. But again, the people who are in that audience don't probably have no clue of this because the mainstream media won't say any of it.
For the people meant fighting for middle-class families who had been defrauded by banks and were losing their homes by the millions in the Great Recession. And I'll tell you, sitting across the table from the big banks, I witnessed the arrogance of power.
The arrogance of getting thousands of dollars from Steve Mnuchin.
And his Wall Street mess was of the people's making. So we went after the 5 biggest banks in the United States. We won $20 billion for California.
I swear it is literally like the Twilight Zone address, when just knowing what actually happened and what she's saying.
The strongest anti-foreclosure law in the United States of America.
If she's talking about Frank Dodd, that was a milquetoast policy.
For the people meant fighting transnational gangs who traffic in drugs and guns and human beings. And I saw their sophistication, their persistence, and their ruthlessness. And folks, on the subject of transnational gangs, let's be perfectly clear. The president's medieval vanity project is not going to stop them.
I actually have obtained a different opinion about the wall. So I do think it's ineffective. But I would definitely, if I was the Democrats, give him the 5.7 if it meant getting something in return. Because think about it. This shutdown literally won the Democrats nothing other than being annoying and, just having some level of complicity in the 35 days of workers being furloughed. So I don't know what people mean when they say they won or they accomplished something. They are literally in the exact same spot they were before. But I'm just adding that because that's what she mentioned here.
And in the fight for the people to hold this administration accountable, I have seen the amazing spirit of the American people. During the healthcare fight, I saw parents and children with grave illnesses walk the halls of the United States Congress. Families who had traveled across the country at incredible sacrifice. They came to our nation's capital.
Another policy that people are unaware of the origins of. The ACA is a Republican idea that Republicans abandoned once the Democrats took it under over the Obama era. So just to see it's like, yeah, I was so instrumental in making sure that this Republican healthcare plan was able to stick around. And again, it's better than nothing. But you really go. It's just again, no one knows all this stuff. They just have no idea.
And if they were seen, their leaders would do the right thing. I saw the same thing with our dreamers. They came by the thousands, by plane, train, automobile. I'm sure they were sleeping 10 deep on someone's living room floor. And they came because they believe in our democracy and the only country they have ever known as home.
I'm just glad we're finally getting some policy,
I met survivors.
although it's still a bunch of anecdotes. So if she offered, let's say, an immigration framework, and then suddenly, it's like, oh, I want this to be used for the people that are coming, that are here legally, illegal, whatever. But it's just, I met this person down the street, and he inspired me to mention him in this speech today. Just get out of here with that.
And together we took on these battles. And to be sure, we've won and we've lost. But we have never stopped fighting.
They have most certainly stopped fighting. Just like with that Kavanaugh thing, I will never get over Schumer, and this isn't her fault. It's just Democrats in general. I'll never get over him saying ahead of Manchin voting to confirm him, there will be no punishments for Democrats who choose to buck their party and support Justice Kavanaugh. What's the point of even having two parties if one of them's going to let its members do the same thing as the other one? But we've been over that a million times. Let's continue.
We are here today. And that's why we are here today. We are here knowing we are at an inflection point in the history of our world. We are at an inflection point in the history of our nation.
Blah 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 blah. Can we get a policy? No. Okay.
Our American democracy are under attack and on the line like never before.
God, these people still live in the fantasy world. I remember one of the main Republican talking points when the immigration stuff was being called, criticized by the media as so cruel and so evil, was that Obama had the same policy, which they're not wrong on. And that's kind of been the part of this address. Like I get it from the perspective of you want to run for something and make it seem as if the world is now on fire, but it's been on fire for longer than the last 2 years. The 76% of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck didn't start with Trump. Um, Millions of people not having their health insurance didn't start with Trump. It's just there's a lot of issues that they keep trying to be partisan hacks on so they can advance their points within the Democratic base or people that they think have no idea how horrible things were to even lead to what we're into now. I mean, because whether you like it or not, a majority of people will not just switch from one party to the other in 4 years unless they think everything is screwed up. Me neither, Jamar. Thank you. We're locked in step.
And we are here at this moment in time because we must answer a fundamental question. Who are we? Who are we?
She is a Citibank shill. That's who she is. We know who she is. She is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And like that might sound like, just random name calling, but when you know this person's record, like Jamar, if you want to hear some of her misgivings, you can, I guess, watch the earlier part later on. But I mentioned that the rhetoric she uses nowadays, just like in an earlier part of this speech, she says, I wanted to help people not get arrested for, oh yeah, Jamar, um, Hillary and Obama combined, or Obama and Hillary combined. But I mentioned that she says something to the effect of, I was trying to help people not go to jail for drug possession. And then she opposes legalizing marijuana up until a few months ago, realizing how inconvenient it's going to be to continue the drug war. It's Vegeta and Gogeta. Vegito, rather. Okay, this is another part that makes me want to vomit. She's criticizing Trump for attacking the free press, but acts like Obama wasn't the one who signed the NDAA 1021, where cops could throw you in jail without charging you, and then jailed journalists with the Espionage Act 6 times. So again, it's that Twilight Zone paradox of everything was so wonderful and great and the sun was shining until Trump came. And again, if she was so concerned about human rights, she would have come out and opposed the Obama administration's policy in Saudi Arabia. Thank God she finally got around to opposing it when Trump was doing it. But wolf in sheep's clothing. It's okay when the Democrats do it, but bad when the Republicans do it. Camo Hillary. But all the stuff she's mentioning, she either did nothing for, or she did the complete reverse. I'm gonna read your thing in a moment, Jamar.
What is this administration's response? Their response is to try and take health care away from millions of families.
The millions of families already don't have health care. That's the only part that is kind of true, that they make it seem like if you just get rid of all the illegal immigrants, all the problems with the douchebags at the top cheating to make things better for themselves will go away. Jamar says her statements are so general, it's like a cold psychic reading. Exactly. I can't even, I don't know if I'm listening to a speech or just lines out of some book that was written several years ago. Yeah, and that's kind of why. Hold on a second. Anyways, like you were saying, she is so bland. It's funny because people who don't like Trump never give him credit for being funny. Like those debates are only entertaining to watch because he'll make jokes about how people look and generally respond in some comedic manner. Some out of date outline to speech making 101. Also, if these people who abuse the system that are politicians, are voted in, theoretically, it's because Americans are doing it to themselves. So, a couple of us, or a majority of us, make a decision, do what they think is right by voting for someone, then we all pay the price.
But that is not our story. That is not who we are. That is not our America.
I'm getting reminded of the Charlottesville thing, where there were people who said that this wasn't who we are. What are you talking about? It's that same stupid, yeah, we need everybody included thing. And then the people that say it, oftentimes you look up their past and then they're against a particular group. Just like, to this day, I can't get over how they were crapping all over Tulsi Gabbard for being opposed to same sex marriage, but then kept their lips closed and sealed over Obama and Hillary doing the exact same thing. When she actually came out and reversed her position before either of those two did, and has a 100% rating from the Human Rights Campaign as it relates to her votes in the House. So she walks the walk in addition to talking the talk. So the other problem is they're just rattling off stuff without explaining what she's going to do to fix it. If you're aware of income inequality and higher cost for places of living, but then stagnant wages, what are you going to raise them? How much would you raise them by? And my favorite question, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? She's not addressing any of it.
People are drowning in America. We have a whole generation of Americans living with a sinking fear that they won't do as well as their parents.
And she's going to do absolutely nothing about it. I'm telling you, when you're, and people try to, they say you're too hard on these individuals, but when you are attorney general of a state, I think most would admit you have a certain level of leverage that regular citizens would not. So in California, for example, did she fight for lowered cost of living, lower food prices? Any of this stuff that she's talking about now? Did she try to get rid of fracking? Did she try to get single payer so everybody would get coverage? Or at least, it's stated intent? No, not none of this. I'm telling you, it's like when she was attorney general, she didn't know any of this existed. And then now as she's watched Sanders and other people push for this, oh yeah, I'm totally behind it. Then you go look at her record and it's either a contradiction or complete silence. It's like you're right. She's talking as if she's someone who is forgiving of, or rather, oh wow, wait, repeat that. How ironic! This is literally coming from the same person who opposed legalizing marijuana. You end the war on drugs, make the drugs legal. God, it's so simple, and then like, oh my God. I wish this stupid speech would be over. Again, no record of anything having to do with the climate until the year before last. So that was so important, or why didn't she speak out in over 30 years of being a public official?
Racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, transphobia are real.
Telling you, that's how the Democrats get you every time. Oh, I just remembered. Harris refused an inmate's wishes or requests to get surgery, because they want they want them to be transgender. She wouldn't let the person have it. I'm forgetting if it was male to female or female to male. So when she says, let's support LGBT rights, the T in there is kind of like, not really. This speech is just like, it literally is a paradox. Which is why you need police cameras. And she opposed it. You said she doesn't. It's just talking politics.
And let's speak truth. Under this administration, America's position in the world has never been weaker. When democratic values are under attack around the globe, when authoritarianism is on the march, when nuclear proliferation.
Okay, Jamar says she doesn't like to do things that will buck the system. Yeah, this is literally, like you said, Clinton and Obama combined. They just do whatever, wherever the wind takes them. Like all these principles she's talking about. You want democracy, but then you're going to support or keep quiet as the Trump administration tries to go after Venezuela and ignore its democratically elected president because they don't like him. Can't take a stand on anything, I swear. She sounds like she's giving a prom queen speech.
And let's speak the biggest truth of all. In the face of powerful forces trying to sow hate and division among us, the truth is that as Americans, we have so much more in common than what's separate.
Jamar says she sounds like she's giving. Oh yeah, I already read that. That's cyberbullying. Politicians are like water. Whatever glass scenario they're thrown to, they take that shape.
That on the fundamental issues, we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And you know, some will say.
I almost think this thing is repeating because it's the same line being used and over again. Yeah, Ballo, you confused me. You said Brazil is something. What's so funny, Jamar? You laughing at what I said or at Balazin's error? Well, again, we're just hearing minutes and minutes and minutes of platitudes. Hey, imagine we get to the end of the speech, or she's like, "Oh, this is the conclusion," and then the bar just increases.
I'm not talking about some facade of unity. And I believe we must acknowledge that the word unity has often been used to shut people up or to preserve the status quo.
This is literally queen of preserving the status quo. I mean, her sound like she repeated herself. Yeah, this is. I almost don't even want to make it to the full part because we're not hearing anything else.
Let's remember when abolitionists spoke out and civil rights workers marched.
Oh, that's another thing they like to. They like to mention something that happened a long time ago that has nothing to do with anything, or if it does, it's just more words to make you feel better about the about her. Scrape this little thing off here.
When we have true unity, no one will be subjugated for others. It's about fighting for
Yeah, Jamar, I'm starting to think of just saying screw it.
collective purpose and freedom for all.
This literally is getting. I'm almost running out of commentary. Yeah, but she can't appeal to them if they know her record, which is why she won't talk about. This is literally a person who supported a policy, so the refusal to legalize marijuana, that is backed by individuals of all ethnicities to prevent minority individuals from getting arrested for using a substance that others do too at about the same rate, but then disproportionately getting locked up for it. She was in favor of that. Just like when she was dancing the Cardi B. Oh yeah, that was I like how someone found out, or someone basically said this is staged because they're playing the clean version, or they played the clean version. So every part of this is fake. This is a fake speech. She's giving you fake history of her doing stuff that's actually the reverse, or excluding parts where she didn't do that thing. I'm at a loss for words. People are preventing legalizing marijuana is like keeping alcohol illegal. Yeah, well, they saw that, and what's really weird is you still have people to this day that actually, not politicians who have the most backwards views of all times, but there are individuals who still say, why do you want this legalized? As if they can't realize that if you have a substance that is overwhelmingly popular and it's not legal, it's not going to help the economy because it's being sold by black markets and all kind of other individuals that do not pour into the system. Fake news, Kamala. This is the fake speech. And she's still not telling you what she's going to do. Like I said, wages have been stagnant for 40 years, while productivity, so people have actually worked more, that's gone up. And she's not addressing anything of what she's going to do to change it. Which, again, it started before Trump. So it should tell you it's an overarching issue that the U.S. has, and she just won't say anything. Still more platitudes. The first thing of substance in this entire discussion, or speech rather. Finally. Why does it take 30 minutes to say that? I still don't buy that she wants to do any of this because, again, look at her whole career. Just like as I used to say, it's such a great thing of what she did in the Senate was okay when I read the vote, but those positions have only been taken since she saw Hillary lose the last presidential election, and she's trying to distance herself or otherwise jockey for the next one by appearing to be similar to another candidate that was in the race. I swear, Russiagate is just all encompassing. Our democracy of having the person who gets the lesser votes than the person who actually got the most votes not win. Being opposed to police cameras. I don't know which tax she's talking about. Again, only in the last 2 years.
An America where our daughters and our sisters and our mothers
Here we go with that feminist crap.
are respected where they live and where they work.
Because apparently when Trump entered office, that was the end of any of them being able to be respected or liked or anything.
By the Constitution of the United States, but guaranteed in every state.
Asexual harassment only started 2 years ago. Before that, it didn't exist. But they tie everything to him for no reason.
Where we keep our word and where we honor our promises, because that's our America. And that's the America I believe in. That's the America I know we believe in. And as we embark on this campaign, I will tell you this. I am not perfect. Lord knows I am not perfect. But I will always speak with decency and moral clarity.
I'm sorry, that was just ridiculous. So you go from finally getting to a couple of things having to do with what you're actually trying to do in office to now talking about the way I shall address the audience will be of clarity and decency and all this other platitude crap.
And of course, we know this is not going to be easy, guys. It's not going to be easy. And we know what the doubters will say. It's the same thing they've always said. They'll say, it's not your time. They'll say,
It already was her time in 2008. It's over now. It's just funny to have her sit here and talk about the overwhelming lack of chance she has when she's literally being propped up by the Democratic establishment and Hillary donors are going to her.
can see what can be, unburdened by what has been. That is our story. That is our story. And as Robert Kennedy many years ago said, only those I do not lightly dismiss the dangers and the difficulties of challenging an incumbent president. But these are not ordinary times. And this is not an ordinary election.
This actually is, these actually are ordinary times if you consider how long these issues have been afflicting the U.S. Because as I mentioned, the stagnant wages have been going on for literally 40 years. The ICE, our Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, so that agency that people were losing their minds about last year, has been around since 2005. Just, you can go down the list, but most of this stuff has only existed or has existed for a number of years now, so it is very ordinary. The state of the U.S. being in a perpetual, never-ending war, so whether it's Afghanistan, Iraq, that's been going on for 17 years. We're currently bombing 7 countries. But we've been bombing multiple countries now for plenty of years. This really is nothing special.
And every one of us. So let's remember, in this fight, we have the power of the people.
The power of ignorance is going to help her get in office. What are your parents? And that was the worst part of the speech, her talking about her family. Because they have nothing to do with this. You're trying to get regular people's votes, not relatives.